Hello, everyone, and welcome to the program Business Point on Global Television. I am Samuel Odi. Many thanks for joining on to this edition of the program as we tend to extract Nigerian inflation, have a conversation around Naira and dollar, and also Naira and Euros. Also, we'll be having conversations around cryptocurrency, where we've seen Bitcoin is gaining momentum aimed at the political crisis going on between United States of America and all the global economy, world trading countries. So we'll be having all of this conversation, and still there have been serious issues going around Nigeria, which is in line with housing deficit, and then we are going to be having conversation in the second half of today's edition on how to address those housing deficits, given the fact that research has shown that over 24.4 million Nigerians are basically living homeless. So we are going to be having all of this conversation on how to address the housing deficit and also get you updated with Nigerian global business updates. So we'll be starting, as always, from the home front, where we've witnessed a significant rise in the headline inflation of the month of March 2025. In the month of March 2025, Nigeria's headline inflation rate rose to 24.23%, marking a significant increase from the previous month's 23.18%. This rise is primarily attributed to the escalating price of essential food items and non-food items, further straining the finance of many Nigerians. The monthly inflation rate also experienced a rise, increasing from 2.04% in February to 3.90% in the month of March. Looking at all of these, the headline inflation, which is the overall inflation rate, which measures the change in general price level of goods and services, has increased to 24.23% in the month of March. Month-on-month increase, the rate of increase is specifically on price, which was significantly higher in the month of March compared to the month of February, with a monthly increase of 3.90% compared to 2.04% in the month of February. Food, which is a major cause of inflation, food inflation, which constitutes a substantial portion of Nigeria's overall inflation basket, has also been a key driver of the overall rise in inflation, according to reports gathered from the NBS. Core inflation, which also excludes versatile agricultural produce and energy price, rose by 24.43% year-on-year in the month of March 2025, further indicating a broader base increase in prices. Impact on Nigerians. Obviously, the increase in the inflation is affecting the purchasing power of consumers and is adding to the economic challenge faced by Nigerians. So all of these concerns now is what is really affecting Nigeria, despite the fact that we've seen that the rebasing of the Nigerian economy and CPI was rebased to the year 2010. But in the month of February, we saw a downturn, and then the inflation being minimal, but now we are seeing a bullish run on the inflation for the month of March. Now, questions are being asked by Nigerians. If every segment are not being covered, then why did the rebasing happen? Since it's not going to be consistent, that would see the inflation, reduced to a certain level. Based on what President Bola Ahmed Tinubu said in his budget for 2025, that inflation is expected to remain at 15% come December 2024. The first quarter is gone. Now the inflation has also gone up to 24+%. Now, what does this mean for the remaining other quarters of the year? Nigerians are asking, will the Nigerian economy be able to witness this inflation rate being stabilized at 15% by December? That's a question that the policymakers and President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration would have to answer. Also, the NBS also holds Nigerians a vivid and a clear information on what the current realities of Nigerian economy actually is, because we've seen where experts and policymakers have argued and said that the NBS are not being realistic with the current inflation rate of Nigerian economy. But we'll be having other conversations maybe in other editions of the program, where we would have experts from NBS to come talk and also elaborate more on the current realities of Nigerian economy and also the inflation rates. So moving away from that, let's have conversation around Naira, where Naira trades at 1,845 Naira to a pound on that Easter Monday. Euros hit 3-year high against dollar. The Nigerian naira remained steady against euros despite the European currency's aggressive surge against the US dollar in the international markets. The euro stroke naira exchange rose to 1,845 naira on the official market as of Monday. Market activities indicated that the naira lost its 1,800 mark support level, causing the euro/naira exchange rate to continue rising. The black market remains a crucial barometer of the country's forex availability. The Central Bank of Nigeria enforced tight restriction on the official market and controls access to foreign exchange, limiting funds for certain import and personal travel allowances. The euro rose significantly before encountering resistance, surging by 1% past the anticipated of 1.15% mark, its strongest level since 2002, aimed at safe haven buying, driven by supernatural trade tension and a weakening dollar. The US dollar index, which measured the dollar's strength against 6 major currencies, dropped to 98.2%, its lowest since March 2002. Although the index had risen over the past 3 years following Trump's administration trade escalation with global reserve currencies. Recently, developments had received that the trend has to continue, and also this is having negative impacts on Nigerian economy and also the global economy. So looking at all of these angles now and all of these challenges now is still biting hard on the economy, biting hard on the citizens of Nigeria. That's why Nigerians are crying and calling on this current administration to come to their aid. And also we are seeing a significant trade and war going on in the oil and gas sector, where crude oil currently is being sold at $65 to a barrel, but now is actually trying to get up to its own momentum, which is to be sold at $70 per barrel. So we are seeing all of this significance happening now, and it's also being attributed to the weakness of the dollar and also the momentum that the euros is gaining, which is also affecting, because one, Nigerian economy has been dollarized for a very long time, and it's also having a negative impact on the economy and the growth of the nation as well. So in the long run, it still boils down to the citizens, where the citizens have to suffer in terms of rising cost of food items, which attributes to the growth, the increase that we're seeing in our inflation, also high cost of transportation. All of these angles now attributes to the fact of it will boil down to the inflation at the end of the day if most of these major concerns are not being actually tackled. So that's why we're seeing all of this change. So this is a trajectory of what would continue if initiative and policies, not just policies on paper, but policies that will be seen through by individuals and policymakers, will see through to those policies that they'll be introducing and how to sustain Nigerian economy. So, and also have the Nigerian naira being stable at 1,500 as promised by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So if all of these angles are not well taken care of, then it's actually going to be a very, very long run for Nigerians and also the economy and the growth of the GDP as well. So you all can understand and connect the dots of how Nigerian GDP and economy would suffer if policies and initiatives are not being created quickly based on the current trade war going on in the global economy. So moving away from that, let's have a quick conversation around cryptocurrency, as Bitcoin surged to $88,000, aimed at US dollar weakness and market volatility. Bitcoin soared past 88,000 early hours of today, reaching the highest price since late March. The cryptocurrency rallied, coinciding with a sharp decline in US dollar, which hits a 3-year low, aimed at the growing concern over political interference in the Federal Reserve. This surge underscores Bitcoin's role as perceived safe haven assets during period of economic uncertainty. Over the past 24 hours, data from CoinGlass revealed that more than $97 million in Bitcoin short position were liquidated, contributing to the cryptocurrency's upward momentum. Meanwhile, the mid-cap tokens such as CAS and Polygon's plug lead gains, raising as much as 9% despite the absence of the immediate catalyst. So looking at all of this now, the trade war going on, is also coming down, and also we are saying that the fact that dollar is being weakened is giving more momentum to cryptocurrency, and it's advancing and surging higher. So with all of these recent developments now, I think investors' momentum is boosting, and those that purchased when all cryptocurrency coins were down would be smiling as at today, based on the fact that the cryptocurrency world is gaining momentum. So looking at all of those now, I think it's actually good for individuals to dot their T's and dot their I's and watch out if the bullish trend will continue before the close of business today. But projection have said that the bullish trend will continue its momentum, and also projection have also said for today before the close of business this week that the naira will be stable at 1,550 naira. Well, we'll see how all of those pans out as we bring you daily business updates on the global scene. We'll be going on a quick break, and then when we return back, we'll be having conversation around housing deficits, and we'll be talking majorly on the impact of emerging technologies on urban and regional planning. Stay with us. We'll be right back immediately after this break. On global television.
The business world can be dynamic and unpredictable, with headwinds and volatility sometimes becoming an obstacle for players in the business and economy landscape. Watch Business Point on global television as Samuel Oji walks you through the twists, turns and curves in bonds, stocks and crucial market indices from a global standpoint. Watch Business Point weekdays on global television at 11 a.m. West African time. Business Point. This is business.
Do you know that global television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world?
Download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to watch global television real time from around the world. What are you waiting for?
Start downloading and stay connected to global television.
Yes, many thanks for staying with us. If you're just joining, this is Business Point on Global Television. I am Samuel Odi. So now we'll be getting into the second half of the conversation where we'll be addressing housing deficit and the impact of emerging technologies on urban and regional planning. You know, it can be overemphasized that there have been a whole lot of challenge going around housing deficits in Nigeria. So let me bring you up to speed with the current estimated number of people living homelessly here in Nigeria. In Nigeria, it's estimated 24.4 million people are homeless, representing about 13% of the total population. This issue is particularly acute in Lagos, where a large proportion of population reside in informal settlements. So more details are to come, where we see Nigeria is estimated to have the highest number of homeless people globally, with 24.4 million individuals lacking adequate housing. Significant portion of Lagos residents, possibly 70% or more, live in informal settlement, highlighting the severity of homelessness in the capital. These statements are often valued to evictions and displacement, adding to the challenge faced by homeless individuals, not also taking away the fact of insecurity in the northern region and also in the northeast and also middle belt and also in the eastern part of the country. There's just a whole lot of incidents going on, and then factors that contribute to such of these challenges are poverty, urbanization, rapid population growth, and lack of affordable housing that contributes to high rate of homelessness. So we'll be focusing more on, you know, affordable housing, and which is something that is very, very crucial. I have a guest with me here in the studio who will be helping us understand most of these challenges and how it's going to be navigated in the long run. And also there are a lot of incidents there's a whole lot to be discussing, and we just hope that time will permit us to do that. I have a very good friend of mine here in the studio, Cindy Tafa. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Sam.
Yes, many thanks for joining us on today's edition of the program.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah, so it's no longer news. We've been having housing deficits, and now we've seen series of numbers. We've seen 17 million, we've seen 24.4 million, we've seen 28 plus million. But mostly proper research from bright sources says 24. So we are sticking with 24 million. So with all of these rising issues now, how do you think these challenges can be addressed?
Okay, first of all, I would like to address the gravity of the issue and bring it down from the statistic to its core level.
Okay.
So housing is actually recognized as a human right in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I think the Constitution that inaugurated the Fourth Nigerian Republic recognized housing as a human right.
Just like having water and light and school and healthcare as the basic right of all Nigerians.
Exactly. So, you know, when we say that, we mean that if you say, oh, there's a 28 million housing deficit, we're saying there are 28 million households that do not have that basic human right. So just to bring our attention to the gravity of the issue. So yes, you know, there are a lot of factors affecting our housing deficit. At the top level, it's a lot of mainly policy issues, I would say. But, you know, that doesn't mean that we ourselves as Nigerians, we cannot, as a matter of social responsibility, see how we'll alleviate some of this amongst our fellow citizens.
Okay, well, those are actually very, very good. And then you rightly mentioned about policies, and also because they are very, very key, because we've also seen where the federal government have, you know, set up an initiative plan that would help address this deficit, and then individuals will have up to like 20 to 30 years to be able to pay. But now, it still boils down to the fact of how much do these individuals earn, that you now take 2.5% away from the salary, and how long will the 20 to 30 years even cover this housing deficit? So now, I know like you're planning, you know, things on how to be able to address most of these issues currently going on now.
Yes.
You made mention of the fact that you have construction and real estate marketplace coming up, and
Yes,
then you
we
said
do.
those are avenues that you're creating
Yes.
to be able to help Nigerians address the
Yes.
major concerns that have to do with housing deficit. So, educate us on the plan and why you picked out this angle to try to solve out the
Okay,
problem.
thank you, Mr. O. That's a very good question. I appreciate you bringing it back to that discourse.
Yes.
So when we came up with Construction Real Estate Marketplace, the first thing the question that we're answering was, is there a place where we have a unified market where real estate developers and stakeholders, industry players, building materials salespeople will come together and benefit from each other under the same roof? It's not to say that we haven't had trade fairs like that, but what makes ours different is immediately that idea came up, the first thing we asked was, okay, what problem will we be solving? Now, the bigger problem is, since we're in the building industry, the bigger problem is our housing deficit.
Yes.
So we looked at the housing deficit and we narrowed it down to what you and I can do as a matter of our individual responsibilities to resolve that. And we tried to create or curate Construct Rem as a space where, from our own little corner in Abuja, we can help solve those problems. So if you don't mind, I'd like to mention some factors we have in place. For example, we have a quality control team. We understand that prices of building materials are skyrocketing.
Yes.
So we are going into agreements, partnerships with salespeople. We're doing confirmations with industries to make sure that whatever is being supplied is the right thing and to get the proper and good prices for them. Also, we'll have developers and some other stakeholders really in the industry who would come, and you can network with them and find the best value for yourself. So we've done we're doing a little bit of this and that to see that, in our own little way, we reduce the burden of property ownership or property purchase through construction real estate marketplace.
How can you, in 2 minutes as we round up, yes, the federal government, what role do you think that the government will play now in helping addressing this issue, aside from the fact that we're seeing initiative being created to take around 2.5%. Let's look at what the minimum wage says, 70,000 naira. Taking 2.5% of the space of 20 years, can one be able to even have a good quality of housing? So how do you think your new initiative would work hand in hand with that of what the federal government has? How do you think it's going to work pari passu at the long run for Nigerians to be able to benefit from it?
Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of things, actually. I think a lot is quite hyperbolic. There are a couple of things the federal government or the government can do to alleviate this housing deficit issue that we have. But from construction and real estate marketplace, and personally what I lean towards is a PPP, public-private partnership.
Yes.
So that's where we come in, where there's space for engagement or discourse, and subsequently an alliance between government and stakeholders towards resolving this issue that is a problem for basically most Nigerians at this point. Yes.
Okay, that's I think that's that on the conversation, and then hoping to see lots of results as you plan to have your events marketplace come up, I think, towards the end of the year, as you said.
Yes,
okay,
hopefully.
We just hope to see how that pans out, and hopefully we would have a conversation on how Global Television will partner with.
Oh, excellent! We look forward to that.
Yes. All right. So, that's how much time will permit us to take on today's edition of Business Points. I want to say a very big thank you to Cindy Tafa for taking our time to join us on today's edition of Business Points, and also a very big thank you to the entire production team for making today's production seamless. My name is Samuel Odi. I'll see you again as we talk more business. Bye for now.